So my name is Georgios Kleftodimos. I am associate professor at the Mediterranean Agronomic Institute of Montpellier, and I'm the coordinator of DIONYSUS project, which is just to give you a brief overview. It's a Prima Section 1 project started in 2024 until 2027. We have in general 14 partners with a representation of 9 different countries and a variety of different uh, uh, participants. Also, I think that tomorrow or today, I don't know, you will have one of our partners is present there from Thanasis Markinos from the TOEF Stavropou is going to be present there. So, what are the main objectives of this project? First of all, one of the main objectives is to establish 4 demonstration sites and 3 replication sites around Mediterranean region, and to create in each one of them an action panel. How we consider action panel? We consider it like a living lab, but at a higher scale. It means that usually the living labs invite people they have a spatial delimitation, which may be a region or more local, a municipality, and invites different stakeholders for different sectors. We are going a step beyond because our approach is cross-sectorial, and we want to have different and competing sectors, but also we want to advocate the findings at the policy level. So we call it action panel because we're going a step beyond, and we're inviting also participants from the policy sector of regional and national scales. So inside these multi-actor action panels, we enter in a co-design process with the objective to co-design operational adaptation solutions and sustainable business models at the different levels, start from the farm to the value chain to the territorial level. In order to do this, we are developing a decision support platform, which is going to work also in different scales, from the plot to the farm to the territory, and is going to observe all and to assess the adaptation solutions and the potential trade-offs in all the different elements of the WEFE Nexus, from the plot to the farm and to the regional. And that's why in this platform we couple a bioeconomic model, a farm household bioeconomic model, which works at the plot and at the farm level, with extensions at the value chain. And we couple this model with a general equilibrium model in order to have, in order to go the analysis at regional and national scales. And at the end, the long-term objective is to create a think tank in Mediterranean in order to advocate these results to the policy officers. So here is the map of the different demonstration sites and replication sites. So we have 4 demo sites, one in Luxor in Upper Egypt, one in Prefecture of Karditsa, where our partner present in your conference is the leading of these demo sites. We have one in Morocco and one in Italy. And 3 replication sites that are going to follow the best business models and the best adaptation solutions from the demo sites. So we have one in Algeria, one in Tunisia, and one in Turkey. However, my presentation today fits very well with the previous presentation about the co-design and the living labs, because it's more theoretical and it's how we perceive and how we analyze these aspects and what we want to be, apart from the direct impacts on the field, what we want also to be our legacy in this project. So, in general, I will not take a lot of time. You're familiar that Mediterranean, faces increasing structural pressures, and only agriculture consumes more than the 70% of the available water resources, while at the same time, food demand continues to grow due to several aspects like demographic changes, increasing in tourism activity, market integration, changing diets. So these pressures has a negative impact on biodiversity and ecosystems, and of course in agricultural productivity and the resilience of the agricultural systems. So these pressures do not occur independently. They create cross-sectorial interactions and trade-offs between competing sectors for the available natural resources. This means that the decision in one sector cannot generate can generate unintended consequences in others, which is precisely why we integrate the WEFE Nexus approach. So, in order to address this, the WEFE Nexus concept has been emerged, and traditionally, water management, energy policy, agricultural policy, and environmental policy has been treated in silos, separately. But in the reality, these systems are highly interconnected. So the objective of Nexus is to identify synergies and trade-offs across these sectors and to improve the resource management in these complex socio-ecological systems. So, however, what we have seen that the Nexus concept in general has been involved the last years. The earlier formulation focused mostly on the water, energy, food nexus, mainly emphasizing resource efficiency and physical interconnections. Later, the word ecosystem was incorporating, giving rise to the WEFE Nexus in order to better account for environmental limits and ecological feedbacks. More recently, we have seen in the literature to appear the WEFE Plus, which incorporates social, institutional, and governance dimensions. However, despite these extensions, an important conceptual limitation remains. Most Nexus studies focus primarily on technical or operational aspects. For example, we are developing indicators or models to optimize resource flows, to simulate scenarios, and to construct different integrated models for, let's say, cost-benefit analysis or for optimized business models. While these contributions are very valuable, they often stop short of addressing deeper questions. For example, how are these trade-offs between the sectors actually decided? How do institutions shape these decisions? And how the societies defined what is valuable in the first place. I mean, we have a trade-off, but who decides and under which values and under which concept we decide which value is more important. So, consequently, the WEFE Nexus often functions mainly as a technical coordination tool rather than as a framework capable of guiding the governance. The individual governance, but the collective governance as well. So the objective, I mean, here is not to propose another extension of the framework, of the Nexus framework, or not to develop another modeling approach or to set indicators, but is to recenter the Nexus debate in the concept of value. So the argument is that the main limitation of the current Nexus approaches lies in the absence of a clear and undefined conception of value. In this perspective, value should not be treated as another dimension to be added to the Nexus, but rather as the organizing core of the system. And I mean, to give an example, in Luxor area, in our demo sites in Upper Egypt, we made the assessment of the system and the economic efficiency of the system, and we observed that the farmers are cultivating cereals, which is not economically beneficial and not beneficial for the available water resources. However, they are not willing to stop cultivating cereals. And why this is happening? I mean, in the optimization process, we saw that a cash crop like sugarcane, which is also widespread in this area, it's much more profitable and can create much more competitive business model for them. And can address better the WEFE indicators as well. However, it's not an option for many households. Why? Because according to them, it is the same for the household to not cultivate the bread that they are going to consume. So here we have a very strong cultural value, which apparently is more valued than the economic profit in some cases. So that's why it comes how we are going to reposition the idea of value among these different elements that emerge in a complex system like a farming system or a living lab. So to explore this idea, we adopt a conceptual and theory building approach. And we have three main steps. The first step, it reconstructs the conceptual evolution of the nexus from the WEFE to the WEFE and the WEFE plus. It examines the limits of the dominant theoretical traditions that are commonly mobilized in nexus research, and introduced the concept of systemic value as possible theoretical foundation for rethinking the nexus as a framework for governance. One of the findings is that different theoretical traditions can capture partial aspects of the concept of value. For example, they're using cost-benefit analysis under traditional neoclassical economic models, which focus mostly on efficiency, productivity, and welfare, but they struggle to account for systemic risk, non-linearities, and irreversibly ecological losses. For example, in irreversibly ecological losses, for example, the loss of an aquifer, usually we use a replacement cost method, which is good in order to estimate some costs. However, we do not consider so different values, ecosystem values that exist around the collapse of an aquifer. There is the approach of institutional economics that highlights the transaction costs and the property rights. But in many times, it provides limited guidance on how to arbitrate between competing values. Another example in this, which is in the field of institutional economics, there is an argument that, for example, the heritage law in North Africa is a limit for developing economic scales. In the neoclassical approach, it is illogical. However, the respect of the law of the heritage gives a value to the people that they adopted. So there is a value above the economic value of the economies of scale for them individually. We have also the socio-ecological system approach, which is emphasize the participation, resilience, and legitimacy, but they often avoid explicit economic valuations. Indeed, it is an approach that lies in the collective action and the co-design, that the co-design process gives the legitimacy to adopt, gives a cognitive and normative legitimation to adopt a new measure. However, it remains very often very qualitative and not quantitative, failing to give vital information to the stakeholders. And finally, we have the learning by doing perspective, which emphasizing adaptive learning and knowledge creation, but they are difficult to integrate into the decision-making frameworks. I mean, usually we neglect the learning by doing perspective because in the living lab, in the co-creation process, many times we are failing to take into account the local know-how, which is very important. So here, as I said before, we propose a new conception of value, which more or less combines all the different economic schools. In this perspective, value is not limited to economic efficiency or output. The systemic value emerges from the interaction between several components that includes purely economic performance, institutional constraints, how the institution affect the decision of the different people, governance legitimacy, individual governance, and governance of the co-creation process, and learning by doing, because the value that we attribute in the co-creation process has also an added value. I mean, more respect we attribute to the co-creation process increase the value of the final product. So value is therefore relational and dynamic, shaped by both biophysical constraints and social decision-making process. And for us is the gravitational center of the WEFE systems. So instead of treating economics, institution, governance as separate analytical dimensions, we propose to treat value as the organizing center of the system. Each of these analytical perspectives capture part of what society considers valuable. Systemic value, therefore, emerges from the interaction and tensions between these different dimensions, including trade-offs between the different aspects like efficiency, resilience, or legitimacy, and the long-term adaptation. Only by combining all these aspects and trying to find what is the importance of these different values in each case, in each demo site or in each living lab, then we can capture the real trade-offs of the WEFE Nexus elements. So this perspective reframes the WEFE Nexus from a coordination tool into a framework for governing independent systems under ecological constraints. So in conclusion, we argue that the main limitation of the actual WEFE Nexus is not the absence of additional dimensions. We have all the dimensions. It is the absence of an explicit theoretical foundation for value in order to be able to estimate the existing trade. By introducing the concept of systemic value, this work proposes a way to interpret economic performance together with institutional feasibility, governance legitimacy, and the learning processes of co-design within a single conceptual framework. This approach, does not yet provide a complete operational model because for the moment we are still in the progress of the project, but it clarifies the theoretical conditions under which the Nexus could evolve into a framework capable of guiding governance in complex socio-ecological systems. Something that agroecology is almost ready to attain. Why not WEFE Nexus to have this also unique place as a framework that can be used in different, a theoretical framework that can be used in different cases. Thank you very much for your attention, and if you have any questions, I'm at your disposal.